if you sit too far back. I don't know.
I know. I gotta fix myself.
I don't know what that means. Okay, well, it's 6:30. We're just going to wait a few minutes because the Arts Committee basically assured me that they will be here. So we're going to wait and see if more of them show up. But let's welcome Ian, our new district
everyone.
manager. Hi, Addison. I have a question, Ian.
Yes.
Other community boards raise money through street fairs. I'm wondering if we could do anything at the art show in terms of donations or anything like that. I know there are very specific rules for government agencies, but if they could participate in street fairs financially, I'm wondering if it's a voluntary thing and it goes towards arts initiatives. Like maybe we could pay for art supplies for a mural or something like that.
It's an interesting question, and I'm not sure how it works with community boards specifically, but I know there are certain departments. So sanitation has one, the fire department has one where they will have their own separate foundation, which is a legally totally separate entity. Um, and they can raise money through that. And I think there's a way that they can spend money through the department on foundation using foundation funds. I don't know how other community boards have it set up. I have some
Don't
meetings
either. And
coming up
even
with
with
other
that,
managers, but I can ask them then.
or you could ask the counsel at the borough president's office who
Yeah,
is ultimately responsible.
yeah.
So
I
because that might be nice to have some funding for arts events.
yeah, let me make a note and I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Do you know any specific community boards that are doing that?
I do, but I don't want to um, I
Fair
don't know
enough.
if they still are, and I don't want to raise anything that might not be presented correctly.
We'll chat offline.
Yeah. I know it's 6:35, but I'd still and welcome everyone. All of you are community board members anyway. We did have someone here, but maybe he was lost. So we're just going to wait and see if anyone else, a couple minutes, and see if anyone else from the committee shows up. But I'm glad that you're all here, and some of you were really, really, really on time, Rita. I'm looking at you. So thank you. So if you don't mind, I don't want to waste your time, but I just want to be as productive. I think you were all at the art show, so your voices are valuable. Um, well, Gail wasn't there. Sahar was there. But maybe she'll come in time for the last thing to be able to pick a date for the next one. So just give it one more minute. Thank you. And you could unmute everyone, John.
Okay, I just did. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Alita,
Yes.
I bumped into Boris, one of the maintenance people in my building,
Oh, Boris. Yeah, he's enormously helpful and so cheerful.
and he said to me, he said, "When is the next one?" I said, "I love it." I said, "Everybody knows your name." He is so proud. You have no idea to be part of that.
I'm
So
so glad to hear that. This is really an example of it taking a village to do this right. And without Boris chasing away those pigeons that some person was feeding with rice, and without him cleaning up some of the streets with people not doing the right thing, it's like a backstage kind of operation. His work is so critical, and his cheerfulness and demeanor and willingness to do everything immediately is just very valuable. So please thank him and tell him, well, if we have a date tonight, you could give him that date and tell him to be ready.
he loved it. But I be very blessed.
Yes.
We are too. This is a very unusual circumstances between management and tenants. It is, and it has been for years, from the beginning. And we've been through a lot of rough spots that are.
Yes. So at 7 o'clock, I invited Art Grid to come and just give us an update on the construction fence at Sloan Kettering and anything else that we might be able to do with them in the community, because they're the ones that get the art on the scaffolding and the art on the construction fence. And I know Xtel can be rather difficult, but driving by the First Avenue site, it is completely covered with posters, which does not do anything at all for the community. But that's at 7 o'clock. Okay, it's 6:38. You waited long enough. Why don't we just start with the art show? John put a lot of money, not a lot of money, you put no money in, but you put a lot of time into preparing that report based on the survey responses.
Should I
So,
start with the rules of the road first, though?
pardon?
The rules of the road.
Oh, yes, please.
Welcome. Good evening. It's your first time joining us. You notice that you're all actually currently unmuted, and you will remain unmuted throughout the meeting of the discussion on the debrief of the Fall 20 Art Show. Following the presentations, as we move through the agenda, the co-chair will call on members of the public wishing to speak. You can participate by pressing the raise hand feature on the bottom of your screen, not the wave or thumbs up as those appear, and only press it once. If you press it a second time, it will go back down. If you're calling on your phone, you'll have to press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to unmute yourself once the co-chairs call on you. Chat is available to text support only to help with Zoom software problems and not to ask questions of the chair, as they will not see the chat. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you may need to go to the React menu, Participant menu, or the button where it says More, where you will find the raise hand feature there. If you plan to speak during the meeting, we would appreciate if you could possibly rename yourself to your first and last name for our records, so we may be able to know your first and last name as we call on you. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen, as we will be able to see you and chat with difficult support.
Thank you, John. Everyone here knows those rules, but you never know who might pop up. And in the meantime, everyone is unmuted, so feel free to just jump right in. So it looked like there were pretty good results on the survey. A couple of people were just unhappy. I know that people would prefer a different method of check-in. I don't know what that different method would look like. So if anyone has any thoughts on that. Oh, and I have to thank John and Ian, Jordan, for just really helping at the show. Thank you to the volunteers who came, to the committee who came. You guys did an amazing job. It really is a village that makes this thing work. None of us could do it on our own, and everyone's enthusiasm makes a huge difference. So we had, according to John, 129 artists. That's a lot. I know there were some objections, and we could certainly fill in the middle row, maybe use the sidewalk around the park. There's so we're still trying to get more artists. And of course, there are some who don't show up, but this time it was about, I guess, about 30%, right, John? We had counted about 157, 129. That's about 30. That's about 20%. So it's usually between 20 and 30, but we just never know, which makes it a problem. So people seem to be really happy. I don't know how to make other people more happy or happier. We certainly can't control foot traffic, although we publicized it as much as possible. And I think more so than maybe for other shows. We can't control people buying things either. So any complaints about that, we have nothing to do with. We can't control food because Chick-fil-A is incredibly generous. They brought so many sandwiches that they had to bring some back. I think they brought about 200 sandwiches. We don't have any other options for food. And we couldn't have coffee because there was an illness, and we couldn't have ice cream because there was Taylor Swift fans at the bars there. So we do the best we can. We're always looking for music. So if you hear any music that you think would be good, and they might be interested in performing, please, you can either reach out to them yourselves, or you could send me the information and I'll contact them, because music is really nice, and I think people appreciated that. Rita, thank you for getting and putting up the balloons. We don't, we we do the best we can with music, with food, with all of the other stuff. I don't know. I think Gail's idea about banners, the Miss America style, not banner. What do you call those things? Sashes. Sash that notices that we're community board aid, avoids the uniform problem, and identifies us readily. So we should do that for the next show. I'll leave it to you to pick a color. Doesn't matter to me. Something blue, green, red, I don't know. Pink. Any other comments on this? Or John, you went through and put everything together. Do you have any comments or any other feedback or anything we could do better or differently for the art show? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, only one point I can really make clear, and I did make it clear at the end of the report. A lot of people had comments about the advertising in that they didn't feel like it reached forward enough, and that may be more on our side of trying to improve that. So just from my personal learning of helping assist in this show is helping trying to give further advertising of the art show to a wider community board 8. I know someone actually went directly to our table and mentioned about Roosevelt Island not having enough outreach there. So in some capacity, we might want to look at trying to do more further outreach and assisting in that capacity.
That's go ahead, Peggy.
Oh, yeah. And thank you, John. Thank you so much for this detailed report. I continue to be, I guess, troubled is a little harsh, but we don't basically have enough painters. And one thing that I feel that we should reach out more to that community wherever they are, be it schools or the Art Institute or the Art Students League or whatever, to try to find more painters. One of the reasons I say this is because I've been a little disturbed by some of the products that certain exhibitors do offer. One that particularly troubled me was someone was selling used clothes. Now, this should not be allowed. It wasn't anybody's artistic anything. And this shouldn't be seen as a flea market. It's supposed to be an art show, and I really feel that we should pay a little bit. I mean, certain things I feel we should be able to exclude from the show and not have to just approve basically everybody that wants to, sell what's in their attic. And, so my plea is for a little more scrutiny of what is being exhibited at the show, and B, couldn't we get more painters? Anyway, thank you.
Well, no, and I appreciate that. The person who was selling used clothes, and I think there was only one, that was not part of the submission, as far as I know, or we would have vetted that out. As you know, we're not permitted as a government agency to vet on aesthetics, but you're absolutely right. There shouldn't be, it's not a flea market. There were some handmade items, if we're talking about the same person, that were part of that exhibit, but in terms of those items, they shouldn't have been there and they won't be there again. They just were not part of the submission for art. Maybe, John, when you have some moments of free time, you could inquire, try to find contact people at the Art Students League, at Marymount, at any of the other art schools, whether they're attached to universities or they're independent places that have people who paint and where that we could approach for artwork. It doesn't have to be paint either, obviously. It could be watercolors or something else. But we could also reach out to art teachers at schools. Some of them are artists in their own right. But it would be good to have more of the visual arts. But I just think that those were two different points, Peggy, but noted.
Thank you.
Rita?
I thought overall this was one of the most successful exhibits that we ever did. And the one person who was not happy obviously didn't sell anything, but that is not something that reflects upon us. It reflects upon maybe nobody liked their art, nobody liked what they were selling. It was, I thought, one of the best, incredible undertakings, and pulled it off. Just magnificent. The day was magnificent. Everything was magnificent. I agree. It would be nice to have more artists, and some did very well who were there.
In terms of publicity, we covered more avenues with flyers on lampposts than for any previous show, thanks to volunteers. Barbara Rudder and Wilma Johnson covered part of Second Avenue. I covered Lexington and half of Fifth, the Fifth and half of Third. Sahar covered the rest of Second. We had a lot of flyers. The problem is they get torn down. So I don't know if it's the sanitation department. We moved Community Board 8 up to the top to make it more prominent for if it is the sanitation department tearing it down, or it may be grumpy neighbors who don't want visual clutter. But I noticed that on a lot of the lampposts, the upcoming Street Life meeting flyers were also torn down. So it may just be a visual clutter thing. I don't know, maybe Ian, you could see if like what's going on or if it's sanitation, if you don't mind my assigning you a task, because it takes a very long time. I don't know why, but it does, to flyer the avenues. And I had my husband out doing one side of Lexington while I was doing the other, or would have taken even twice as long. And then to come back the next day and find the flyers are gone is extremely frustrating. I know some of the people who posted were similarly frustrated. So, and yet that's how we communicate with the public, not just for these meetings, not just for the art show, but also for all of the committee meetings and the full board meeting. I noticed that I used to see a lot of the notices on those NYC, the kiosks. And I only saw one, and it was after the show had closed, was that afternoon. So maybe if we could get them to do it more frequently, that might help. But otherwise, we asked, and I wrote to all of the elected officials. We had it included in Gal Brewer's newsletter, which has a fantastic compilation of activities around the city and the neighborhood, West Side and us. She's kind enough to do that. I don't know what else to do. I know Peggy was trying hard to get it into the newspapers. I put it on Nextdoor. A friend of mine in East Midtown saw it that way. I don't know what else to do. So if anyone has other ideas, that would be excellent. Rita?
I think that I don't know if you posted flyers between 86th Street and 96th Street between Park Avenue and First Avenue, but those are the people who were walking in the street. And you could tell by the street traffic, the people walking with carriages and dogs and whatever, that they live here. And a lot of people who live here did not know about the art show.
I posted them on Lexington. Barbara posted them on Second. They were there. They were torn down. And so it is so time intensive to do that. I cannot go back every day and repost flyers only to have them torn down. So we need other mechanisms. Peggy?
Yeah, I would like to ask John and Ian if we could e-blast the flyer on the CB8 mailing list. And I know that it's publicized among the things that get publicized on CB8 communications, but it needs a separate e-blast of its own, and more than once, I think. And that would actually grab more people's attention. I mean, we've got, as I understand it, thousands of people on the list, but I don't think thousands of people see the flyer. And if it were separately e-blasted, they would.
We also need a larger, broader reach than just people who get the Community 8 newsletter. We need people who have nothing to do with and no interest in government functions. We need just regular people. And I don't know how to do that. With the artists, we should make maybe a stronger push, but it's really in their own self-interest to put it on their social media because they're selling. So we just need to get people, the board members should be trying to put it on their social media if they have. We need to get more, because the bigger, the broader the reach, people who teach, people who work in a law firm, people who work in an architecture firm, people who work at the drugstore, the more types of people, the more variety there is in their occupations, their hobbies, their free time, the broader the reach, the more people might attend. But yes, e-blasts are good. I don't know. Any other comments? John, could you just scroll through the survey, please, so we just have a quick look at what the questions were in case there are any other comments? Any other comments from I mean, at least, this one that John's on now, how did you hear about it? We have 17 respondents heard it through word of mouth, and that's good. And to Peggy's point, 13 had heard about the show through CB8M correspondence, so that's good. And 8 from physical flyering. I mean, there's just such a variety of people who hear about it. We don't ask the questions, obviously, of the shoppers or the attendees, just of the sellers. And then I think it was Rita's point earlier, if someone's not interested in what's being sold, then we can't do anything about that. Robin?
John
Yes.
and Alita, Peggy, Rita, Ian, and Addison. Would you see any value in adding a question to the survey for the next time we do this? Something to the effect of like, did you sell anything?
No. Please don't. I'm sorry. I don't think we should, for a lot of reasons.
I think that makes it too personal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
I
not
think we did do that once and then took it away.
right.
But I could be wrong about that. But then it feels like it becomes, I don't know what reasons Peggy is thinking of or Rita, but it feels like it becomes more of our responsibility if we're asking about it.
Well, I recall that there had been some slightly hostile responses to it too when it was asked. But we should not be involved in, and there was also, I think someone asked a question about how much money they made. I mean, it just got so improper to inquire as to, um, we It's way too intrusive. And besides which, my own perspective about this is that we are doing the community a tremendous favor. And I personally even get concerned about having to ask them if they liked it or not. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't much care if they don't like it. We've done them a great service. Instead of saying, "Oh, how can we make it better for you?" I'd like to get more thank yous from them. And that's
People,
just my perspective.
I spent all day going back and forth among artists, asking how the show was going, and asking if they would come back to the next one. And they all of them, I think, were so appreciative and said to me, "Thank you for organizing this. Thank you for having this." Not me personally, but for the board or the committee. They were very appreciative. They seem to be, and they even said, I didn't sell a lot today, but I was very glad to be here. I liked interacting with the artists around me. I like talking to the public. So there's a lot of consistency. John, for question number 5, interaction with the community board staff, look how many people, 82 people out of 91 were at least more than satisfied, and 80% very satisfied with the board staff. So that would be you. Thank you for that. Obviously your demeanor and your pleasantness and your enthusiasm and hard work really was conveyed. So keep it up. And thank you.
I would just, I don't know, you can ignore this comment, but I would just, instead of a survey saying, "How did we do?" I'd rather a letter goes out to all the participants afterwards saying, "So great to have you," kind of thing, and we look forward to seeing you next spring or something like that, rather than
We do send
tell
a letter
us,
like
if
that.
we
Sorry.
did a good job or not. I mean, I don't know. I just think there's the wrong perspective about this from the survey kind of sends the wrong perspective that, are we doing a good job, when if it weren't for you, Alita, this wouldn't exist at all.
Well, thank you. But John, I heard you say, John, that we do send
We do send a thank you letter to all artists who
Yeah.
participates. We do send an email thanking them for their participation in the art show, and then attach the accompanied survey with there, asking if they could answer it or not. That's all we usually attach with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sending the thank you and see you next spring or whatever note. I would just, personally like to see it ended with that rather than how
Yeah.
did we do, kind of.
I think
Anyway, that's just my personal opinion.
I think, and then Robin, I think Valerie is a big fan of the survey, but also if it gives us information and helps us improve and attract more artists and make this a bigger deal that everyone in the city is aware of and wants to emulate, then I think that's a good thing. So obviously the people that feel we should have different catering options, or we should have assigned tables and things that we can't do, we can ignore all of that. But if there is even one piece of constructive feedback or suggestions, I think that could be helpful. Robin, did you want to say something?
Have we ever made any changes whatsoever, even little ones, based upon survey results?
I don't know. It's kind of a broad picture. It's factored into all the thinking and trying to make it more organized in terms of check-in. I don't, and those are basically the responses. And maybe for the publicity, I don't know, because it's just becomes part of a big picture.
We have not changed our check-in procedure at all, have we?
We have, because as the number of artists have grown, we've had people walking them up to their spaces, people making sure that the tables are touching. So we have for that. We've also made sure that I think we've organized the check-in form a little. It's not a form, but just the sheet with everyone's names.
Right.
Easier.
Alphabetical.
So all of that is designed to make it better for the artists, and or easier for them and easier for us. And so the combination of the number of volunteers, and there were people, just members of the public, who helped check in. I think that, and having people volunteer, and that would include Sarah Chu's daughter, Bella, who really likes coming and helping out. I think all of the people walking the artists up to spots helped make it much more seamless. We had 129 artists. Well, a few of them came late. So let's say 120 to 125. They were all in their spots within about 20, 22 minutes. That is really fast.
What about the comment that we should be entering on Third Avenue to walk?
And that was just, I'll take credit for that one. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it's just some of them had heavy things and were walking uphill. But I think I put in there, well, it's Third Avenue's louder. You don't have the protective scaffolding if it's drizzling. So there are arguments for both sides.
It's the first time I think I've heard scaffolding is a plus.
Only when it rains.
Exactly. I don't know. Maybe it's something that we could talk about for next time. But yeah, because I guess they could hold their stuff down. There were some people, though, there's more shade at the bottom than there is at the top, and there are benches at the bottom. So some people come extremely early. When I get there at 8:30 in the morning, 8:40 in the morning, there are already people sitting on benches with their stuff. I tell them that they can't, that they have to wait until we're ready to check in, and they have to get online, and they understand that. But I guess they want to be the first online. So it makes it easier for the early birds to show up and have a place to sit. And there are more trees down at the bottom. So Second Avenue seems good. They could, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. A taxi, a car could just circle around the block and let them off on Second. So if we had check-in on Third, there'd be people coming from Second who would be complaining. So I think we should just leave it as it is. But if anyone has any other ideas, then happy to, for all of us to consider it. Anything else? Any other feedback on the show? You guys were really, really great, and you stayed and you stuck it out. And I know that there were always people around the community board A table. You gave them cogent advice and suggestions and relayed the interest in the community board house for the community at large, the residents and the businesses. So all of this is integral to our place in a community, not just as a voice from disgruntled residents to the agencies, but also is doing something really positive that's not contentious, that's fun, that supports artists, that supports the community. And I think it's something we should all be really proud of. So thank you, guys.
If I may add, I think it might be useful, and a kind of angle on the story would be a community board is sponsoring an art show. Maybe if we plan ahead for spring, we can find a way to get a story on New York One. Think it would take some doing, and we couldn't just send them a press release. But if we work on it, I think that there's a possibility we could do that. And to me, the angle would very much be, what the community board has done for the community. I mean, that seems to be my mantra here tonight. But I do think there needs to be, this perspective that this is something we do for the people in the community. And, I don't think we need to worry too much about whether they don't like what we've done for the community. If they don't like it, they don't have to participate. But I think that it's time that you and the event get the attention it deserves, more on a citywide basis.
Agreed. That would be great. Thank you for that suggestion.
I have something I'd like to say.
Sure.
I think that the street should be marked the night before, if possible, so that it takes away, the confusion when people are coming in. I think it's just easier to do. That's number one. Number two is we are talking about what we do for the community, but what we are also doing for the community board itself by getting people's names and addresses and giving us bigger and better reach. And I just out of curiosity would like to know how we do in one day versus the avenue fairs that are so big where people are coming to spend money, not to see, art or crafts. How do we stack up of how many names we garner in one day versus what happens at the Second Avenue Street Fair, the Third Avenue Street Fair? Does anyone have an answer for that?
I think that would be up, the board office would probably know better than anyone
Right.
else would.
Be curious, just out of curiosity, because we now give the community board greater reach than they had before.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it gets to the core of what the community board does. Um, if there is a problem, I don't know of it, but for a comparison with the street fair booth that CB8 has, that booth, other than handing out flyers, doesn't have anything to offer. And this is obviously, a big offering. The art show is a big, huge offering for the community on so many levels. I mean, you can participate in different ways. You could buy something, there's not really anything that you do if you go to the booth at the street fairs, other than maybe pick up a flyer, but
Yeah, but you could sign up at the street fair just as people sign up at the art show.
yeah, but sign up for what? I mean, that's been the problem about people wanting to participate in the community board, and I'll keep this short because that's too broad a topic. But the gist of it is, if you want people to participate in the community board, you have to be doing something specific that they want to do, or they need to have, or something. Handing out flyers isn't connecting with their interest level, whereas things like the art show and the women's committee has tried to provide things that we felt that the community actually needs, and I feel, and I hope that the communications committee does this more, is that the committees need to be outreach, need to be putting on programs or information that people actually need. And when I tell people that, I use the art show as the archetypical example of doing something that actually connects to an interest level in the community, other than just talking about the city. The city wants you to vote yes or no on this proposal. The public at large doesn't relate to that. So you want to offer them something that really draws them in, gives them a reason for being interested.
I don't know. I think sometimes people come to the street fair table with particular complaints,
Right.
but maybe John or Ian or someone else from the board office, Jordan, could look at, just count them. All we have to do is count them. We have the art show hopefully in the spring, and then we have some street fairs in the spring and some in September. And if we're doing this again in October, there'd be 4 fairs. So we could certainly count them up and average them out and see how it is. I wasn't as active in trying to get people to sign up this time as I usually am, but I think we do get a whole bunch of signatures because people like it. And I think Peggy is right in that way, that it's something that they enjoy, although I always try and tell them about all of the other committees. But in any event, it is a good opportunity for people to sign up and to see that we do something positive and uplifting and community building, rather than just relay contentious points or act as a sounding board or as a vehicle for city agencies to do what they need to do and bring things to the community. But I see that John is here from ArtBridge. Could you unmute John? And John, could you turn on your camera if you don't mind? And I think I'm right. You're here from ArtBridge, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks. Could you unshare the screen, John, please? So we could see John. So I asked you, thanks for coming. I asked Stephen if he could come to give us an update, because I know you guys are doing work on the upcoming addition or change in the construction fence to people at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House. So could you just give us a little bit of update about that? And maybe we could think of something else that we could all do together.
Yeah, thank you. Good to meet you all. I'm very happy to be here. My name is John Souza. I am a program director for ArtBridge. ArtBridge, if you don't know, is an arts organization that does murals around the city. And the murals that we put up are usually done with a local artist and with the community involved. So we will do lessons at schools, at community centers, at senior centers, and gather information for what people would like to see in the public art. So we've been actually working in the Upper East Side and in this district in particular. I think we started last year working with MSK, where we collaborated with PS 183.
John?
And yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is all the people here are members of the art committee. So we were all involved in working with Stephen. So thank you. You convey it in a different way than Stephen did in terms of the lessons that you did, but everyone here was involved in selecting the artists that worked with the students at the elementary school, and as well in selecting the artist that's working with the people at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House. So
Awesome.
and thank you. I had no idea that was involved when we started to collaborate in terms of the fence. And I know you take primary responsibility, your organization, for doing that. But it's just a great boon. The more cultural aspects there are to a community, the more artwork there is, I think, the better. So thank you for that. Could you tell us about what the theme is or how it's working in terms of the artists at Lenox Hill and also the instructor that you're working with, please?
Sure. And so I'm also happy to know all of you guys are familiar. Usually I'm in spaces that they're like, what is public art? So that's refreshing. Well, the mural that we did put up on MSK will be coming down pretty soon around December. And with this next version, we are planning to install in February next year. We ended up selecting Carl Waverfield, who I assume you guys also had some hand in, taking a look at some of the artists that were selected. Carl has been working at Lenox Hill. He'll be there again tomorrow at the Lenox Hill Neighborhood House. And I would say it's hard for me to put my finger on what a theme is. I think that he's been talking a lot about memories. It's a senior center, and so they speak a lot about memories. He said that art is a lot about observation, imagination, and memory. So they've been doing activities, observing things, like still lifes, doing some imaginary, collage, and really focusing in on the memory piece to tell the stories that they remember and can reflect the story from the neighborhood. Um, and I think that in the next week, we'll be trying to put together a theme. And I know that he has some work ahead of him to gather all of the opinions that he's gotten from the community and trying to put them in a comprehensive piece of art. Uh, but that's sort of where we are now. He's at his last week teaching now, and we're planning for him to give a little bit of a turnaround, but I'd like to give some creative space there. I'd be happy to share anything digital that he sends over if you would like to also see his digital draft when it comes out.
I think that would be great. I'm a big fan sometimes of very short quotes. In the staircases in the Museum of the City of New York, there's one in particular that just has quotes from famous people about life, crazy life in New York. Maybe just a few words, maybe not from all of them, but about their specific memory or life on the Upper East Side or life in the city. Might be nice on one section of the board or part of it. I don't really know how to lay anything out, but I think sometimes words are an art form. Words are an art form in themselves, right? Literature, memoirs, biographies, all of nonfiction, they're all pieces of art as well as visual art. It might be nice to have that, but that's just me, and it's not necessarily something that anybody else shares, and certainly not you. Do you have a time frame for when all of this might be happening? And I hope that we'll all be invited to the quote ribbon cutting of the new artwork on the fence.
Yeah, well, absolutely. One of the roadblocks that we have when installing public art on canvas on construction fencing is that it belongs to the city and needs to go through a city canvas process, which tells us that we can't use lettering. And I agree with you that lettering, calligraphy, poetry, this is another art form as well, but they kind of shut it down and say zero
Wow.
words.
Well, then never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, it's a hard one, and I've pushed back. I've written memos, but so we're planning on an install in February, and it will get a cold. We'll probably have a ribbon cutting. If it's not outdoors, we'll probably have some indoor, snacks and cookies just to kind of commemorate everything, and then take a walk around the block. That's what we did with PS183 and MSK.
I think that's a great idea. The more people
Really,
that see
it's
it.
really very important what you are doing because uh, people who live there see this every day, and therefore they want to be sure it doesn't look like graffiti. And so thank you for what you do. You really do make a difference.
No, thank you. I'm very grateful. And actually, the one that we installed at PS183, they were complaining about graffiti, and it hasn't been tagged once. There was one little, it looks like little kid handwriting, almost like an elementary school, something like about this small. But in this whole time, no one else has touched the artwork, which is great news.
Yeah, Stephen had mentioned that in an email to me that it had been tagged or graffitied. Um, more towards extensively prior to that artwork. So beautification of public spaces the public sees like that can really make a difference. Extel, that First Avenue site is covered with posters. Extel can be difficult, John, but it is an enormous site, and maybe there's a way to talk to them about doing something on the fence. I don't know what costs are involved. And I don't know what he's willing to spend, if anything. But I mean, it goes from 80, halfway down the block, it seems, on 85th Street from First to Second, all the way from 85th to 86th on First, and then down from First towards Second on 86th Street as well. It's a really large space, and it is all just filled with advertising posters right now, none of which are very creative. So it would be nice to see something there. And if there are, I mean, we just have so many construction sites up here, and they all tend to be rather large. It would be nice to do something. There is, recently I saw that there's a new Chinese owner of the site, an assemblage of properties on the southeast corner of Lexington and 79th Street. And they're going to be putting up some kind of, quote, amenity rich building near a historic district. So given that they like historic districts, and given that it's not a New York developer, maybe it's possible to reach out to them and work with them and us in a way to do something related to the history, or the Browns, the townhouses, and the rich architectural history in that area. Maybe because they're new, they might be more flexible than Extel, which has just been around for a really long time. Because I think what ArtBridge does, and your work down at the Battery Park City. No, it's that park, Bowling Green, on the way from the Bowling
Mhm.
Green station over towards the Hudson River, the Jewish Museum, the areas around there. You did a lot of work. You did that whole fence, and that was really stunning. I saw it months ago, but and I wrote to Stephen about it. It was really notable. I think to do things like that, to have it just, it not only enlivens, but it teaches people. It just brings something to the community. And if there's a way to have any support from the community board to do that, I think it would be really, really good. Um, we're not sometimes recognized as having these kinds of interests, but we have a variety of people. We're trying to do more, and keeping businesses. There are NYCHA projects in the Upper East Side. There's Roosevelt Island. So it would be good to try and and do something, given all of the construction sites that we have. So thank you for that. But since I have you here, and since we were just talking about publicity for the Community Board 8 Art Show, I'm wondering if we could impose upon you and ask if there's any way for you to include the art show in any kind of email or newsletters that you do, so that we reach more artists to try and show. We just had a big art show in the beginning of October, where we had 129 artists from a lot from the Upper East Side, but also across the city, who came and exhibited their works. It builds community among the artists, and it builds community among the residents. So if we could ask, you don't have to answer now, but if
Yeah, I would say send the information my way. We actually do have a communications meeting tomorrow, so
oh, okay,
asking at a good time. And if you
good.
could send it, we could probably talk about it in the morning and get back to you.
We don't have anything right now, but we
Okay.
do produce a flyer closer to the show, maybe 6 weeks out. It's to get art to get public to attend the show. We also reach out to artists and ask for submissions. And since you deal with artists, you would be really good. I mean, it's people who would sell. There's no admission charge for the artist. There's no we don't vet on aesthetics. It's because it's a government event. They don't have to pay anything, no part of their profits, no fee to exhibit. And so and they seem to enjoy talking to each other and being part of this large community of artists that does that. So any
Yeah, I
publicity,
agree. If you want us to also share that when it comes as an open call, that's usually a great way to build some momentum in the arts community as well.
good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, no, we've gone from 35 artists in 2021 to 129
Wow.
in the beginning of October. So I think it's very welcomed by people.
Yeah.
We have a variety. Thank you. And again, if there are other things that could be done, I'm thinking murals. I know I spoke to, this was a while ago, a couple of years ago, one of the people from all of the initials running through my head are all wrong. The City Human Rights Commission, about
Mm.
doing a mural, something to recognize human rights somewhere on the Upper East Side. They don't have any money. We don't have any money. So that's why I'm also wondering about the donations, Ian, that's to you. But something like that, I think, would be really nice if we could work on something together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm very grateful for the work we've done so far in the district, and I look forward to hopefully we can use this momentum to keep going. I'm certainly aligned and staying there and continuing, keeping this good thing going.
Great, great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for John? Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we look forward to seeing the work, the digital drafts or drawings or anything else. I know I had some conversations with Stephen about the the specific art on the fence and what to focus on for the kids, and it's nice to be a part of that. So thank you. I think speaking for everyone, I hope we all look forward to seeing that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your time. I look forward to sharing some of the artwork as well.
Great, thank you. And so let's talk about the next art show. If we could tentatively pick a date. Zahara's not here. I know that there have been some issues with conflicts once with the cleanup of Rupert Park. So we can, and they're needing to store materials over on James Cagney Way. So we don't want to conflict with that, although having an event at the park is a nice thing because there's, I guess, an interaction or an intersection between people going to each event. So I'm thinking, I don't know, and anyone else's thoughts? Maybe the first Saturday in June, like we did this year, the beginning of June, we have less chance of that horrible hot weather at the end of the month. So that's maybe the Saturday after Memorial Day. Rita, I'm sorry.
I just want you to know that in December, I just got a phone call from Judy Schneider that in the December Parks meeting, that Rupert Park will be the only thing that is being discussed, so that we will know dates, maybe roughly. So if you want to wait, but Memorial Day, people who have places go to them after Memorial Day and every weekend. So I think that early June is really good.
May, May, sometime in May.
It could be a little cool in May.
That's nice.
What about the week before? Because I know, Rita, you do make a good point. People definitely decamp, and some schools end incredibly early, including colleges. So, and some of the private schools, I think. So maybe we should think, if there's not a conflict. I think if we go too early, the third, this is Mother's Day the second, or it's the second Sunday in May, right? So that's not a good weekend, but maybe the weekend one of the weekends between Mother's Day and Memorial Day. What do you guys think about that?
Looks good.
Put us on the 16th, I believe, because the 10th would be Mother's Day and Memorial Day is the 25th. So that puts us on the 16th.
Yeah, so maybe we should think about that. What do you guys think? Everyone, you could just raise your regular hands, I think, if
Sounds
you're okay with May 16th.
I would go with June, but whatever anybody wants is fine.
Well, in terms of an informal poll, just use the react button and raise your hand if you think May. We'll just do a poll. Okay, so you got Robin. Okay. All right, Robin, lower your hand. And for everyone, and Addison. No, Addison says
Addison says no.
Okay, Addison says no. And he's muted and has camera off, so I can only think he's in law school and he's doing work and listening to us at the same time. So
Alita, what was our date for last spring?
it was
That
the
was
first
May
Saturday.
31st. Sorry.
Wasn't it the first? What was it, John?
It was May 31st. That was last year's or this year's spring art show was May 31st, but it got moved because of the rain date to June 1st.
Which was Monday. So that's the weekend right after Memorial Day. So this year, if Memorial Day is the 26th, it would be May, it would be the last Saturday in May, then it would be the 31st. No, it would be the 30th.
Yeah.
30th?
Yes.
Should we do then, May 30th?
I'll be out of town then, but yeah,
Addison.
I'll be out of town on the 30th.
Okay, so if you like the 30th, just raise your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for Addison for letting us know. Otherwise, we're looking at June 7th, right? Or June 6th. So let's just do another poll for May 30th. Raise your virtual hands, please.
Chelsea has her hand raised. Anyone else has their hand raised?
See it.
Rita, so
Okay, I just see Rita. I don't see Chelsea with her hand raised.
Chelsea raised her
Regular hand. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for June 6th, raise your hands, please. What do you see, John?
Jesse, Peggy, Addison.
Anyone else? Well,
Okay, my hand is up.
Your hand's up? Okay. Up. Rita's hands up as well now. Yes.
okay. So then we have June 6th, I think, by one vote, but there are people not participating. So, okay. Any preference from you, John? Because you're instrumental here. You don't not have any vacations planned for then.
I whatever day is chosen by the committee is fine with me.
Oh, good. Thank
So
you.
that's my input on that.
Thank you. Okay, so then let's go with, since we had one more vote, let's do June 6th. And Father's Day is after that, so that won't be, that's just the first Sunday in June. So we'll do June 6th, rain date June 7th. And I know, John, you'll work backwards. I guess we'll start in probably February, it sounds like, in terms of preparations for that.
Yep. There'd be, I think last year was actually beginning of March. So depending on what we're planning exactly, are we still doing that pre-approve process again?
That's a
just
good question.
Mm.
Well, let's hear from Rita. Do you have a comment? Your hand is raised.
I've lost this picture, but no, I don't. I think whatever, it's fine.
Okay. How does everyone feel about allowing the artists? Well, if we do the people who participated, we did June and last October. If we do this October and June, do we also have to do last October as automatic acceptances? I think it kind of makes sense. We didn't have as many new artists participating, but I think it makes it easier for the office not have to get all of those submissions. I think Peggy might have pointed that out last time. What do you think, John and Ian, or anyone from the committee, about just having automatic acceptances for people who've already shown? And we'll have to deal with the used clothing.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Okay, so then are we going back in time to 3 shows from this past October, last June, and October 24?
Why not?
Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, so let's send out a letter. We could use the same form for people who participated in October 24, June 25, October 25. They don't have to resubmit. They do have to commit. They do have to commit to acquiescence with the terms in the CB8 acceptance letter. We have to be very clear about that. We also have to be clear, because people, I think, don't read the letters necessarily. We have no tables, no chairs for people. And they just have to manage, and we just have 6 feet. That's all that there is for them. Rita, if I'm around the night before, I can do that. This year I had tickets to something, so I wasn't able to do that, and we'll have to see. Because some of it also depends on my family schedule. So then, okay, we have June 6th, we have rain date of June 7th, we have automatic acceptance for people who showed in the last 3 shows. We have John, who's going to update the dates for the whole schedule that we have. And Ian, if you're not familiar with it, John and Will put together this great spreadsheet of tasks for everybody. Anybody who can, and John, you'll look into contact people at all of the various art institutions or places that might have artists or students interested in participating. And that might include art teachers at the public and the private schools. It's more of a problem when we have young kids. We also might want to talk about, I don't know how anyone feels about this. What would everyone think about a small show in February, if we could get the space again at Wagner, just for children to show their art? Any interest?
No. I'm a elementary school teacher. I have also been in broadcast where I cast different children for different commercials, so on and so forth. It would be hard if they don't sell or nobody likes their art. It's just rife with tears, and I don't want to make any child feel uncomfortable or anything. So that's why I say it. Children have very, very fragile egos, and that's the reason for my saying it. But
what if we did it not for sale, but just exhibiting?
But schools do that. They do that at schools.
right.
But this would be a bigger community thing.
Yeah, so what? These kids would love to come twice or 3 times or 4 times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would be nice to have a mix of kids.
Also, do you need wall space? Or
They have to be treated the same way we treat the adults. They have to come with their own tables, their own chairs. I mean, they're going to be coming with parents or neighbors or family somehow. They have to come. They have to be, I mean, I don't know, that we're allowed to set an age, a bottom age like 10 or 14 or something. If we can, well, that would be another discussion. If we can't, then we have to let everybody in, but they have to come the same way that we set out the rules for the main art show. They have to come and they have to be prepared to be there. Tables and chairs, an adult to stay with them. They're responsible for their own stuff. And maybe it's an exhibition with sales that are possible. Maybe we could suggest a theme to them. Maybe we could say life in New York or flowers in the neighborhood. That was what was the theme for the Sloan Kettering art fence that they worked with the 183 kids. So let's think about that. And maybe we could do this.
I will support anything that you do. That's number one. Number two, is there any chance of going to a museum which has a lot of public space and just exhibit that one day for those few hours so that this has a cachet of being in a museum?
That would be very nice.
Very cool.
And they all have spaces. I don't know, John, could you contact people at the Met and the Guggenheim, the Jewish Museum, the Cooper Hewitt? We have Liz Daly at the Frick. Maybe even, I'm wondering if Sotheby's would be willing to do something. They have that great building now, the foyer.
I would stay away from any ethnic, thing. It's a very exciting thing. I remember that my daughter exhibited pottery at the Metropolitan Museum. It was only for 2 hours, and I cried the entire time, but it was great. So it has very nice cachet.
I think that's a really nice idea. John, if you could make a list and we could figure out what to say to contact them and who's going to do that, I think that could be something really nice. And it doesn't matter if we have 10 kids or 50 kids. I think it would be a nice thing.
Right.
I just want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the planning for the art show that's going to happen after, which is the spring art show. So I just want to make sure it's not going to what date would this fall on exactly? And also
it should be
start the planning.
it shouldn't take the kinds of effort, I hope, because we put a lot of time into the spring shows. If this is an exhibition, it's different. If this is school, the parents have an interest. I think we'll just have a built-in audience. It doesn't have to be a big thing if people aren't buying. I think the end of I'm trying to actually plan something personal for February, but I don't know the date. So maybe the end of January or maybe the very first weekend in February. I have to clarify. And then that shouldn't, because what you were saying was March worked last time. So that would be going backwards. But you should just let us know what week one for a June 6th art show.
If in a really good exhibition space, wouldn't it be fantastic to get to the art teachers and allow them to pick which children will come and exhibit? So
I
that
think that would be a lot of tears for that if those kids are not picked by their art teacher.
But how do you stop at 50? And
Well,
you
we should,
75 and you're going to turn 25 away?
I don't know. And those are good questions. We were setting out, we were going to have a limit on the people, a time frame to submit exhibits. To submit art, so that people who were past that would get a no, and we thought we were going to really run out of space for this one. I don't know. These are important logistical questions.
Should we just think about it?
Let's think about it. We can reconvene maybe in the end of November is a problem. Maybe in the beginning of December in terms of a meeting and see what everyone thinks about it. And that would still give us some time, not the 12 weeks, John, but I don't know that it needs to be, the same elaborate preparation that we have for the regular art show. I could be naive about this. So why don't we think about it for a couple of weeks and see if we could do something?
Yeah, I just think I should talk a little bit to John, if you don't mind, John,
Yeah.
to see how this works with your schedule and, because it does seem like there's sort of a collision of activities and it could get somewhat confused. Um, it seems like it really needs to be thought out in terms of your availability, John, and who's gonna do what and stuff like that before we decide on it, or am I off base?
I mean, that is accurate. That I have to first see in where the preparations for the next art show is, if that would overlap with this semi-short art show in February, how that would look like exactly. And also, I'm concerned about when that planning would start. I could see that planning if we follow the same schedule, that would be starting now, basically. Right now, beginning of November, basically. And that's something to really account for. And if we're looking for something shorter, maybe something that's more smaller in the range of that capacity, that is plausible to do, but we also don't want to miss anything because if this plan to be an indoor event, there are way more other factors that have to account towards that. The limited amount of space, the accommodation to see what museum or facility would to handle such an event, and if they would be willing to do that in the first place. So just looking down that options that would take time right there and trying to
Yeah.
facilitate that would require, regardless even of a short list, would require still complexities to make sure that's facilitated properly. I'm not trying to push the committee in a particular direction. Just want to offer the options that
Yeah,
like
I don't,
this is going to take more steps than just simply a short layout
I
list.
don't want you to spend your whole year doing all these art things either, because it's a concentrated effort, and certainly overlapping would be a problem because that would be doing two jobs at once, which you have other work to do too, because you have other.
Yeah, my thought is that this might be a nice idea, but do we have to do it this coming winter? Could we start the process of looking into it, but not have to have it all signed, sealed, and delivered by winter? And I mean, it's something, what we're talking about with dealing with the museums, et cetera, is quite different than what we've been doing. And museums aren't going to rush to say yes most of the time. And so I think it's something to start sort of the process going, but that we shouldn't aim for this winter, and that maybe the following winter we'd have a much clearer vision on how this is going to work.
Sure. I think it may be in talking about it just now that it's more ambitious than I had initially thought. And we don't want to burden the office and we don't want to burden each other on this. So I think that's a good idea. And certainly getting a museum to agree to this might be a lot more effort. So at least if we could get contact people and talk to them as a first step, that might be a good idea. So why don't we do that? I'm just thinking that these art shows are so nice, and they brand is not the right word, but they mark us. They create an aura around the community board in a different way than, let's say, more construction or cutting funds for schools or libraries, that kind of thing. So it's just a positive thing, but it certainly it comes at a cost, and we don't want to have too extensive a cost. So good idea, Peggy and Rita. Will wait, but John, names maybe of contact people might be good. I do have someone at the Met, but she hasn't been very responsive. If there's anything else that might be useful, or if you know people from arts organizations that we could co-brand with for something, or co-sponsor, that would be good too. Peggy?
Before we go, I just wanted to mention that this morning I got an email from somebody in my book club, and she has a nephew who is a singer. He doesn't live in New York City, but he comes to New York City a lot. And I was thinking that he might be someone I could put you in touch with for the spring art show. He I could explain more later. The gist of it is normally he sings political songs.
Yeah.
But I said to them, no, um, that's not what. And I said, does he know any pop, anything, other songs? And she said, oh, yes, yes. And so I was thinking that, and also apparently his fees are quote unquote negotiable. I think he'd be affordable is the gist of it. And so I will send you his name and you
Great.
can.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be good. I think the more music, the better. Anyone else? Okay. Well, seeing no other hands, anybody want a motion to adjourn? Want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Great. Any
Second.
seconds? Okay. Addison seconded. All right, then we'll consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for participating. And really appreciate all of your input and suggestions for this. So thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. See you in a few weeks.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for having